Mr. Dhar, my the very eminent panelist colleagues on the dais, and the distinguished delegates, invitees. Our ministry is convinced that, and all of us are, I suppose, that cities are the drivers of development, engines of growth. We have analyzed this statement, which we read often, in terms of statistical correlation between the urbanization levels and the income levels. And there are global situations, there are global statistics which show that the correlation is very high. And in fact, in the 1950s, India and China were having the same level of urbanization and same level of per capita income. And today we know that though we say our urbanization is 31%, but in reality it is not that much, for the reason I will explain little later. And China is over 50%, and the per capita income-wise they are far, far ahead of us. And within our country, we have done a correlation analysis of 28 states. Now we have 29, but 28 states as these were till recently, and the state per capita income, state gross domestic product per capita. And the correlation is something like 0.74, which is very high correlation. And if we remove the outliers like Delhi and Goa and Pondicherry and Chandigarh, then it will be more than 0.8. And it is no magic. It is not that urban, the very word urban brings prosperity. Urbanization is a phenomenon. It has the social aspect and it has the management aspect. The social aspect is that people, what is an urban area? It is a congregation of people, denser than the usual, denser than the average. And we put some artificial definition to something like 500 persons per square kilometer, or a gathering of 5,000 people, or occupation levels of more than 75% of the residents should have non-agricultural sources as their primary source of income. These are defined by us. But conceptually speaking, a congregation of people in habitation, that is called urban. But how does that congregation give people better results in terms of income? It is because of synergy. It's about synergy in operation. Synergy allows us to do things better. And then the second is management aspect. When more people are there, you are able to invest in key infrastructure to get better results from investments. Like you put up a bigger hospital, you put up a university, you put up an industry or a commercial center. So this phenomenon has to be appreciated, not merely word urbanization. And I'm not going into why I said that 31% is not a realistic correct figure, because let me explain also, because you are all senior people in various sectors and organizations. So the logic has to be explained to you. That first of all, we define urban area as 5,000 population and above, which is nowhere in the world. I mean, generally in the developed countries is 1 lakh and above. And so therefore, the moment you take it to the global level, this number will come down. That is point one. Point number two, the census figure, and almost half of the census towns, which are town in census definition, in 8,000 towns, having 37.7 million population. Almost half of these towns are not notified as municipalities. So by all features of definition, they are justifiably they are municipal urban areas, but states have chosen not to notify them as municipalities. They continue to be villages, because in our country we have made a very clear paradigm difference in all respect of rural, urban, village, city, municipality, panchayat. All a very, very stubborn difference is there. In real terms, it means that if you are in rural area, then you don't have to pay any user charges. I mean, in real terms, I am telling you. You don't have to have much of law to regulate development. You can build anything anywhere. You can build any skyscraper without infrastructure availability. There is no law prevailing and so on. This is a real term of meaning of village. In governance term, I am telling you. But we have sealed it by making laws which are called Panchayat Act, Municipal Act, Corporation Act. So we have sealed it thoroughly, and we have went ahead to compartmentalize in the Constitution itself. So these are the challenges. Of course, I do not want to digress on that part, which is sociological aspects of urbanization that we can discuss at some other occasion. But coming to the point of urbanization and its fallout on issues like we are discussing today, that in the context that urbanization brings wealth, which is sociologically correct, and economically it makes sense, because there's a synergy of human efforts, synergy of resource deployment, and the outcome, input-output, as you say, that all that becomes much better if there is a density of habitation. So friend, this density of habitation brings in synergy, but it also brings in fallout also. As we are discussing, waste becomes a fallout. People become busier as their lifestyle becomes more intense, and they are getting busier in their consumption and production activities, and in their economic activities. So they generate a lot of waste which they are not able to resolve, manage in the way that one should expect it to be done. And that leads to the problem of waste accumulation, and that has been going on. And as things are, our country, we consciously neglected urbanization. We consciously avoided facing the reality of urban development and to meet its need, in a systematic manner. As you see that from 1947 to 2007, we had no program worth the while. The cities were languishing, and all the infrastructure that cities had at the time of independence, the same continued till 2007 at least. And so the same water pipelines, the same trunk lines, of whether sewer trunk line or water trunk line or drainage trunk lines were the same. So new areas came hither and thither, or older areas got more dense habitation, like higher buildings came with more dwelling units came up from where there were very few. And it all led to pressure on the existing infrastructure. Besides, the newer extensions had no infrastructure or very inadequate infrastructure. So all that, because we never thought of planning the cities for, we never realized, we never accepted that cities are engines of growth, and the engine needs to be, robust to carry the whole development behind it, to strive the development systematically. Because there was a dream, and the dream was that India lives in villages. That was the dream with which we started off after independence, that India lives in villages and it must continue to live in villages. That was the dream, that was the emotion which we were very difficult for us to shed, and we nurtured it so very thoroughly that it became kind of, I cannot use the word sin, but it was something like that only. To talk of urbanization, to talk of investment in urban area was something like you are doing something wrong. But if you talk of doing something which pulls people away from the village to the rural area, you are the right person. You are speaking the right language. Little realizing that in a rural area, in a village, if you invest so much, it becomes an urban area. If you put up an industry in a rural area and then start, so many things around it, it is an urban area. So we need not be emotionally attached with urban, rural, and so on. As I said, it is a social and economic phenomenon which we have lately, we realized it so very late. Only in 2007, when the Jawaharlal Nehru Urban Renewal Mission was launched, there was the first ever recognition of the requirements of city, existence of city as an issue, as an issue worth deliberation and worth consideration, and the investment. And so we made a small investment, not very high. From Government of India, we have made investment something of the order of 35,000 crore, and states have put in a little more than that. So close to 80,000 to 1 lakh crore has been invested in urban infrastructure in the Government of India scheme of things, plus states and municipalities have invested equal amount, if not more. So 2 lakh crore rupees invested in urban infrastructure in the last 7 years. It has made a lot of difference. Cities that were looking, whatever they were now, you are coming from different cities, and you will see more or less, most cities have shown improvement. Of course, there were setbacks also here and there. A classic case of setback, I don't know, people here are working in or for Uttar Pradesh. I don't know if you are people here working in or for Uttar Pradesh, any city in Uttar Pradesh, or either as a technology supplier or as a manager. So there are serious setback in a state like Uttar Pradesh. When solid waste management projects were given and the whole thing was cancelled. And it has given such a serious setback. And 2 years before, I had gone to a couple of cities in Uttar Pradesh, and cities were looking so very clean, which was to my amazement, because this is my home state, and I grew up in the city of Varanasi. I studied there, And I always used to believe that this city, like many other such cities where we get a lot of visitors, we can always used to blame the visitors, the people who come as a tourists. They come and spoil the city and go away, and there is no way we can keep the city clean. But the city was looking much cleaner 2 years before, not long ago, I am telling you. And so was the city of Agra. And I got a very good report from city of Kanpur and many other cities of Uttar Pradesh. But within 1 year, the whole thing, like it became like a pack of cards, everything collapsed, and cities are as dirty, if not dirtier than before, because the whole arrangement. But I hope and pray and wish that it is a short-term phenomenon, it goes back. But it showed the way. It showed that. Why it became a case study. I suppose, I don't know whether in today's event we are going to discuss case studies of management issues also, or only technology issues we are discussing. But that is a case study in management as to how the public-private partnership can go wrong, and how not to commit such errors in the years to come. So be that as it may, that project, those projects where we have tried to convert solid waste into one or the other form of energy have given wonderful results. And now we have tried to streamline the whole thing from the Ministry of Urban Development by publishing a manual on municipal solid waste management, and also a technology advisory group we have set up, and it has published a report in 1998 on solid waste management. We have got service level benchmarks published in 2008 for municipal solid waste management, taking note of the international best practices. And as I said, we have supported a large number of 138 municipal solid waste management projects at an estimated cost of over 3,000 crore rupees. And then we have also a series of other programs for satellite towns and for Northeast. I don't know, people are here from Northeast region. And every region, whether there are different, there is speciality of solid waste situation in different regions. For example, if it is Northeast region or hill states, there is one speciality. If it is a airfield town, there is another speciality. If it is religious town, there is yet another speciality. So all these speciality provide for challenges. They give challenges which we have to meet. And there are options, and these options we have to discuss and see in terms of sustainability also. The sustainability of the project is very, very critical, and sustainability in terms of technology options. So I suppose, and I think Mr. Dhar has assured he will prepare a paper and give to us, and I am keenly I will be looking forward to his paper on this. The technology options are very crucial. What technology is good for our country in different segments, As I said, religious towns are there, or airfield towns are there, and so on and so forth. What technology is good? But in any technology option, among other things, I recommend that you please work on zero landfill. With great difficulty, I was able to convince the senior people in the technical side of our ministry, and still everybody is keen to dump something into the ground, starting from 5% to any other number like 15, 20, 25%. But I would recommend you to consider zero landfill, because there is no way we should fill the earth. The earth has been given to us by the nature to enjoy and to nurture it, not to dump waste. Is that fundamental principle we have to appreciate, that we should not dump anything upon the earth. It is given to us to use and just preserve it. In the worst situation, we should preserve it as it was when we entered upon this earth. As a human being, when you or I or anybody entered, we should not make it worse than before. That is point number one. Point number two, having done that, let us try to make it better than before. This paradigm must be accepted in all aspects, whether technology, whether legal aspect, technology aspect, managerial aspect, financial aspect, and so on and so forth. And I am not saying this for the sake of emotion or for the sake of philosophy. We are trying also. And personally I am trying, and in the area I live in, the New Moti Bagh, you might have seen here and there some write-up in some media, sometimes they write. And what we have done, that we found that when I started living there almost 2.5, 3 years before, we used to have a serious tiff with the municipality, that your garbage trucks do not come regularly. And as a result, and when they come, they pick up in this way, that way, it spreads the whole thing here and there, and they don't come regularly, and so on and so forth. And they were blaming that, throughout the day you guys keep on dumping there, and we can't send our truck to 4 times a day. And sometimes there is a holiday, sometimes the truck breaks down. All kinds of, this is usual everywhere. I mean, wherever you are living, you see that. And so this was going on, and they said we'll bring a special type of container which will have lid of this kind, that kind, all this was a truck also, a special truck, compactor truck, compressor and this. Then we realized that why not we try a decentralized model. I'm just telling you a real life case study which I am personally involved in. Every 15 days I visit the unit, and so we developed a solid waste treatment segregation set which is just about 1/4 the size of this room, just a normal land and then shed we have put there. So on a daily basis, throughout the day, the guys keep getting stuff and keep segregating it. And then we have got a domestically manufactured unit costing a few lakh rupees, where it is converted into manure, which trays are there. I mean, you can visit also, or you must have seen such things, where decomposition is there. And then some part goes which has got more of the fuel value, like greens and branches of trees, and because Delhi and many cities are green and becoming greener, every city is trying to become greener. And so the green is being converted into fuel cakes, and that also is, both are being sold, manure and fuel cake. We are buying internally at 5 rupees a kg. Fuel cake we are not buying, it is going to some restaurants and something, and they are also happy to pay 5 rupees a kg is a good deal for them. It is a manure, 5 rupees a kg is good deal for our RWA. We find it very good. And manure is pure, unlike in the name of manure you get all kinds of rubbish from market. If you organic manure they say, and you don't know what you get. So here we are sure it is working out reasonably well cost-wise all. And more importantly, and then we have put a small plant with the help of Indian, plastic, some research or something is there in Bombay. They have donated one set where the plastics are being converted in non-aerobic, anaerobic, just no gas, no air goes, and heated only, heated in closed chamber to 400 degrees and converts into oil, light diesel oil, and some methane gas, and that is all, and some carbon comes out solid, comes as a carbon. So plastic is disposed of like that, and then paper, etc. is disposed of in the usual manner. And so there is a zero landfill. You go there, we have got tiled platform, and the land requirement is in the nature of something like 1/4 of an acre. And it is, since the recycling is done on a almost like half day recycling, morning 8 a.m. to evening 6 p.m. the recycling work goes on, sorting and work goes on. So there is no decomposition of the waste and no foul smell. And so you can safely put it in the residential locality itself without. And so there is no municipal truck which comes, and we have stopped talking to the municipality either for happiness or unhappiness. There is no conversation with the municipality. No truck comes and so on and so forth. And stray dog problem is resolved, and many things are. So this is one small, but you can do, many others are doing many more experiments which you will be discussing. And our experience is that decentralized model is better. But decentralized model will not be very conducive for conversion to electricity, because you require a critical mass of inputs to develop, to operate an energy plant. But yet you see, because energy should be taken, if you take in a generic sense, then there are many forms of energy, not only electricity. So and in Kerala, I don't know, people are here from Kerala, or you are working in Kerala. I was in Kochi, and the Kredai there took me around just 2 weeks before. I mean, this is my passion and mission these days, solid waste. And so, and there I had read in paper somewhere that they are converting into manure on top of the residential apartments complex. And I see they are doing very well actually. On the highest floor, on the terrace, they have put the trays where they are decomposing one. And they took me enthusiastically to one place where biogas plant is put in the house itself. And it is not a floating drum, it is a fixed drum where inside stuff floats, not the drum itself like the traditional biogas, which is another issue for, because, and there he is producing gas and he was using in his household, in his kitchen, he took and prepared a cup of tea for using that gas, and the gas had good calorific value. It did not take much long to make the tea. So this was like another experiment. He says that it is not like 24 hours you get, a critical mass of waste has to gather, and so he has an alternative gas supply also readily available, and for that is natural also. But what I want to say is that, we have to look at different options. There should not be, mind should not be closed to one option only. But landfill we should avoid at all costs. I'm not going into construction and demolition waste, which is another effort we are making. A zero landfill again. Zero landfill for sewage treatment. Zero landfill for construction demolition waste. Zero landfill for plastic waste. Zero landfill for household waste. I am trying personally, and I can discuss for a long time on these aspects what is going on. But then I would like to learn more rather than say more. You know, I have said something, but I would like to, I'm sure that you have got a lot more to say, and this is a wonderful opportunity. There is the aim has to be to see that all the waste is recycled, and we have to carefully observe about the cost factor as well. What is the recurring cost? What is the capital cost? And as the concept of polluter pays has to be defined in many ways. That, you know, the polluter word is like you're only polluting. If you're contributing to that in one or the other way, somebody may say, I'm not polluting, I'm having solid waste, you take it and do what you want. But you are producing solid, you must pay. Waste, you are producing solid waste, every household must pay something. Whether it is recycled or not is second. First you must pay, and it has to be disposed of. And so, because for buying you are paying something, so for disposal also you have to pay something. It is for society only, and we can maintain the account. So I would suggest that in Delhi, if you are in Delhi, any of you, and you are living somewhere, I would like to bring my team with you and your team, and we can work together and see. Or elsewhere I want to go, but I can't. So therefore, but you try yourself and see that zero landfill lands. And that's one a legal aspect also. Once you are entering into PPP aspect, then you must take care of legal issues. Drawing from Delhi UP experiment, and I would recommend the Infraline Energy to commission a study or make a study of the UP situation. And the organization, the agency which took up that project, and they are now, instead of doing the project, they are doing the rounds of courts and you know, their legal counsel and courts. That is their work now, I think, because they, thanks to the email technology, they go on marking copy to me of all their correspondence, and I can see the anguish and the turmoil which is going on instead of solid waste management, it is the management of litigation management, so to say. So legal aspects must be taken care of as to how not to commit error in the future. And then I said managerial aspect also. Because when we are doing in our residential area, when I am doing, very sheepishly, municipal officer, though he, to respect me, he did not say in his normal tone and tenor, but he made it clear to me that the garbage is a property of the municipality. He said that by law it is my property, so which means that you are expropriating my property. So that is a legal position. Of course, he said in very pleasant words, and he explained in the way as pleasant as he could be, but regulators are very difficult to be pleasant, no? So therefore, but this point has to be taken note of, that if the garbage is of the municipality, then what does it mean in real terms? What does it mean in legal terms? What does it mean in financial terms? What does it mean? Everything must be taken care of. Somewhere you get stuck. It is because of me they are respecting. Somewhere somebody else does, they might come and give a notice also. You are stealing my garbage. It may happen, you know. It may happen. The municipality may give notice that you are stealing my garbage, and so on. So therefore, friends, all these aspects, financial, legal, managerial, and technology aspects have to be deliberated, and you come up with viable, good solutions. You see the government which has come in power at the center. Here they have announced that clean cities are one of their mission issues, and we are working on making a formal mission, as the term we use in development program management. That is one side. But by just notifying a mission will not be enough until technology options are available, until managerial, financial, and legal issues are taken care of. So I'm sure you will discuss all these things. I compliment Infraline Energy for organizing this event, a very wonderful event, sir. I compliment you and your team and wish the event a success. Thank you very much.